Hey guys, how's it going? In today's video, I want to show you how to make an obelisk just like this one right here, which look very similar to a pair of metal obelisks I've been using in winter containers just recently. And I haven't been able to tell you guys where to get them because we carried them at the garden center years ago and I cannot find the source. Several of you have sent me links to where you can see them online, but they're still not available to purchase. So I don't know if it's a matter of them not being manufactured anymore, or if they're just back ordered, or I don't know what the case is. If I do find a source for those, I will be sure to let you guys know, like I'll do a dedicated post on it. But in the meantime, I just wanted to show you how to make a version that looks very, very similar. Now these are made of wood, not of metal, so they're not gonna be quite as long lasting, but they are really, really inexpensive and quick to make. So let's go start the project. All right, so I stopped and grabbed a coat on my way over here because it's actually 27 degrees outside right now. It's freezing, so I'm gonna try to get through this project pretty quick. So this is gonna be a little bit different because the obelisks I just showed you, I used 18-inch embroidery hoops, but the store had run out of them. I bought them out of whatever they had. So I'm going to be showing you on these 8-inch hoops. The process is exactly the same. So that's all you need is 2 sets of hoops. So that means you've got 4 altogether because there are interior hoops. See that right there? The other things that I'm going to be using are possibly a zip tie, some epoxy. I've got something to mix the epoxy in. Then we've got some black satin finish, spray paint, and then this is what I had on hand. You'll just want some kind of wood sealer that makes your obelisk waterproof, and it would be a good idea maybe to apply it once or twice a season. You'll get a longer life out of your obelisk. And then I did bring this one over because it's super cute. I just wanted to show you, like, you can make these obelisks or these spheres out of whatever size embroidery hoop you can find. Okay, so the first thing you do is take apart your hoops like this and set the interior ones to the side. So we're going to be working with the 2 that have the hardware. I'm going to remove the hardware off of just one of them. And now the hardware will look different on, you know, depending on the brand of hoop you find. Like the 18-inch ones actually have a big piece of wood right here as well, and much more intense hardware. These are a little bit more simple, but that's it right there. We don't need to keep that. We can actually just like throw that away when we're done. And then I'm going to slip this over the other one, and we just kind of want to sandwich them together, kind of like this right there. I hope that you guys can see that really well. Now at this point, you'll want to use your epoxy. So I'm just going to kind of set this. Hopefully, it'll probably fall apart. Yeah, let me mix my epoxy really quick. This is actually something I have on hand at all times. Is that weird? It's really inexpensive to buy. But it's something I use actually quite often. So I'm just going to squeeze a little bit into this cup. Just about that much is, I think, all we're going to need for this project. We're going to cap it again. And then you're supposed to mix it for 20 seconds, and that's what activates, like mixes both of the things together. I'm not really sure how it works, but it's impervious to weather, so it'll keep our obelisk together. We don't live in a super rainy climate, so I'm not like super worried about these falling apart really fast. That's the beauty of finding metal obelisks, but I just really wanted to give you guys an option so that you could have something like this in your containers and not have to like spend a ton of time searching. Okay, so that's ready. So now we'll work on this again. Let's put epoxy here and epoxy on the other side. I'm gonna probably get it on my hands. Probably should protect your hands. I did protect the surface of my work area, the piece of cardboard. Okay, so I've got epoxy everywhere. And then I'm going to use my zip tie to hold it all together. This is where it'll get a little less squirrely. This would actually be easiest if you had more than one set of hands. If you could have like a 2-person job, like get together with your friends and each of you guys make a set of these so that you could help each other out. And the zip tie is just there to kind of just be a clamp, like my poor man's version of a clamp right there. And then I'm going to use a little bit of zip tie, a little bit of epoxy to epoxy the bottom here. So I'm just going to kind of bump them apart from each other, scrape that epoxy in, and then just squish it together a little bit. Okay. Step 1 is done. Well, it's like step 3 or something is done. You can let this dry if you want, but I'm going to go ahead and place the other pieces. So to do this part, all you do is these are kind of flexible. I mean, you want to be a little careful with them, but just kind of gently push it in there like that, and we're going to epoxy each side, top and bottom. There's that. Now let's get the bottom. Let's do it like this. There we go. And like I said, the epoxy sets in 5 minutes, so you do have a few minutes to kind of mess with it and like center everything, which is very nice. It's not like, you know, where you put it is going to be where it stays. Okay, so now the last hoop goes in like this. So you can already see like it's coming together as an obelisk. It looks awesome. I love it. All right, so I like to set it like this and really look over the top, and then I'll wipe away any extra epoxy. Probably don't do that with your bare hands. Do as I say, not as I do. But I like to make sure I've got them all kind of equally spaced right there, because once that epoxy sets, then we are like, that's the way it will stay. So at this point, we're gonna take it inside, let it dry, and I'm gonna warm up. All right, so the epoxy is all set. So what I'm gonna do now is cut the tail of the zip tie. You could remove it completely if you wanted to, but we're not gonna be able to see any of this anyway, and I feel like it adds a little bit of extra like stability for the obelisk. So now we're ready to paint it, which you could either do in sections, because see, like this one right here, because of the type of hardware it has, it wants to lay on its side. So you could spray this and then, you know, spray the other section. But what I did is I just got a plastic cup, put a little bit of gravel in it so it had some weight so it would stay put, because it's a little bit breezy today. Like, well, we were waiting for this to set, the whole cardboard blew off the table. So I'm just gonna do it like that. Because we're gonna be nesting this down in the pot, I'm not really concerned about the bottom of the obelisk. So set it in there, remove everything else I don't want to get paint on, and I'm just going to paint it and let it dry. All right, so the paint is dry. We're ready for the last step, but before I move on to that, I do want to mention how to add a finial to the top if you would like to. I did add this to the top of the other obelisks I showed you in the beginning of the video. It's really easy. All you have to do is just pick out a drawer pull. This is just a simple, I think it was like $4. Just pick out one that you like the shape of, and then you want to find a drill bit that matches the size of screw that comes with your drawer pull. Then find the center of the top of the obelisk and drill a pilot hole through all the layers of the obelisk. And then these come apart really easy. So you just unscrew that. Whoops. You set this on the top like that, and then you would just take your screw up through the hole right there and just attach it really tightly. And you'd want to do that before you paint the whole obelisk, because you would want this to be painted the same color as well. And you can paint it whatever color you want. I tend to like black things in my garden, but you can do a bright color if you want to do that. I think it would kind of be fun to do like blue and like a chartreuse green, something really bright that would pop as well. So the last thing I'm going to do is add my sealer. This is the spar urethane that I happen to have on hand. And I just want to put a generous layer over the whole thing, and that will help it hold up to moisture. We'll let it dry, and then in the end, I'll show you what container I'm going to put it in and some greens and things I'm going to fill up the container with. So now it's all dry and ready to use, and I just wanted to show you how I'm going to put it in this pot. So there are a couple options. You can use landscape staples, like the staples you use to tack down landscape fabric in your garden, just to like run around the center and then down into your soil. You can also fashion a landscape stake by using a heavy gauge wire, or you can just nest it down in the soil like I'm doing right here. And then I'm going to be pushing in a bunch of evergreens around it, so it's going to kind of help hold everything in. Now, since this is wood and not metal, of course we're not going to get as much life out of it as we would if it was a metal one. But the beauty of it is it's inexpensive, they're easy to put together, and then, you know, if you have to make one every year or every other year, you can kind of change up the look of it too. You know, you can go with a different color or try a different finial out on the top. And again, you can make them in whatever size you want. So now I'm just going to work on a little display around the obelisk, just with some gold juniper. I've got some clippings off of a Christmas tree, boxwood, rose hips, and Arctic fire dogwood. Didn't it turn out so cute? I just think that the added structure that it brings to this arrangement is just so much fun. And I almost miss this structure in some of my other arrangements that I've made for this winter, but I like to use these type of things in season too. Like I had my metal obelisks in a larger urn and planted some lower growing stuff and then some spiller plants around the edges just to soften it, and it was just awesome. I loved it. And it's such an easy project, and you can take it whatever direction your style kind of leans. You know, make it bright and bold or just kind of more understated like this. Anyway, I just thought that you guys would enjoy seeing kind of an alternative way to get this same look, but for less expensive and easier, of course, to find. You can find all of the supplies you need for this at the craft store. So thank you guys so much for watching this video. If you try this project, make sure to tag me on Instagram or Facebook so I can see it, and we will see you in the next video. Bye.